Hi guys, so I decided to start a YouTube channel with some helpful tips for your knitting and crocheting life. And so this first one, I want to start off with organization tips because as knitters, we are all over the place. Hi Amy. We are all over the place. We leave bags and totes and boxes everywhere in our homes to keep track of all our knitting and crocheting stuff and our yarn. It gets out of hand. So recently, because I own a store, I've been trying to be a little better about being organized in my knitting life because otherwise I'm going to lose my mind. Between running a business and taking things home and bringing projects back and forth to work and all of that, I have to be able to keep it straight. So I've come up with some things that are actually making my life a whole lot easier, and maybe you guys can take some of them and use them as a starting point, or just take my ideas and use them verbatim. You know, go for it. If it makes your life easier, that's what I'm here for. I am here to help. So the first thing I'm going to show you, this was the first thing I did. This is a half-size binder, which I didn't know they made. But it is the perfect size to just shove in a project bag. They sell sheet protectors for it and little tab dividers that are the right size for the binder, which I didn't know either until I saw my friend use one for a recipe book, and then I went to Target and bought all the pieces that I need to make a little organized notebook for myself. So this one I made because I'm currently working on the Celestarium shawl, which if you've never seen it, I'll link to it in the description. It's a wonderful pattern. It's a star map of the Northern Hemisphere. So your center point, and it's beaded, but you don't have to do the beads, but I'm doing the beads. So your center bead is the North Star, and then it goes out from there, and it's all the constellations in the Northern Hemisphere, each bead indicating a star. It gets massive. It's like 576 stitches all the way around by the final increase, which is where I'm at now. And I was trying to find a way to manage these charts because there's no repeats. There's no pattern to it. There's stars. So it's very pay attention knitting. You can't put on the TV or Netflix and just work on it mindlessly while that goes. You have to actually pay attention. So the first thing I did was I had my lovely sister take all 8 pages, it is 8 pages landscape across, this chart is huge. I had her take all 8 pages, cut the edges off them, tape them and line them up, and then I would lay it out in front of me and work on it. But then I found myself scooting down the counter as I got farther and farther down, and I'd lose my place, and it wasn't working. So what I ended up doing, and I'm sorry now my sister knows that I threw out all her hard work, and I love you, and you're the best, please don't hate me. What I did was I got this little binder, and I reprinted out the pages, put them in little sheet protectors, and so now you can see, and I have these little white paper with double-sided tape on them to actually mark where I am in the chart, and they're movable. But so now what I do is I start on one end of my pattern, which I'll flip over to the first page here, right? And I know the glare makes it kind of hard, but so I'm on my first page, and when I get to the end of that row, I just flip a page, and everything's marked off. And I know my little covers aren't lined up. This one actually just has no beadwork and just knit stitches up until this row, which is the 10th row in this chart. So I've just covered it. So I just know, like, hey, you don't have to worry about this part. But I just flip through these pages, and when I'm done, I just go back to the first page and I just start it over. So this has become super helpful for charted knitting for me. And like I said, it's the perfect size to just stick it in your bag and bring it with you wherever you're going. And this one has all my current projects in it. And I say all of my current projects. I only have 2 current projects with me at the store because I'm trying to manage that as well. But so I also have in here, after another divider, is my vernal equinox shawl that I am working on, which also happens to be charted. So I just cut the pages in half and slide them into these little sheets, and I have like my little key up here, and I'm working on this chart right now. So I have the information that I need, and I can just lay this book in front of me, and I can get through my projects, and it protects the paper. I printed out plenty of patterns, shoved them in my bag, and then they get thrown away. I spill coffee on them. My cat eats half of them. So this has actually made bringing patterns home so much nicer. And it's relatively affordable. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think the binder was like $7. The sheet protectors are like $3, and the divider tabs are under $1 at Target. So I mean, you could put this together for around $10, and it's really convenient for bringing patterns back and forth. And then I also have a bunch of binders. I like binders. I like office supplies. I'm just gonna admit it. I'm one of those people that goes crazy in the office supply aisles at Target and like enjoys walking down the aisles of Staples for like 45 minutes. I never, you know, get anything done in a timely fashion. Whatever. So the other binder that I have, and this one doesn't travel as much with me. I have a full-size binder. So this is my first. This is a 1-inch. It's relatively small, and it's too small for me. But so I have some more patterns that I am working on in here. Ones that don't actually fold well, or I know that I'm not going to be transporting as much. This does actually fit in my project bag. If you have one of our Yarn Hoe Black Pearl project totes, this fits right in, full-size binder. So I'm currently, yes, working on the Find Your Fade shawl. If you haven't been following the Instagram, it's actually right here. We're about to go into color 4 today, so we'll see how well I do on that. So I have this pattern in here, and because it doesn't actually fold too well because it's done in 2 columns, so I can't like read across, be done, and flip a page. I'd be flipping back and forth a ton, and I just don't want to do that. So this one stays in full pages. And then I have another pattern I'm working on in here called Fins. It's really beautiful. I like shawls. I do a lot of shawls. It's another beadwork shawl. I also like beadwork, but whatever. Looks like this. It's really cool. If you want this pattern, we do in-store Ravelry pattern sales. Come on in, I'll hook you up. And then I also have back here the rest of my charts for the Vernal Equinox shawl that's in the small binder. So the rest of my charts are in here. So when I'm done, I just swap out a page. I'm probably going to be switching to the big binder for this bit because I don't know how that's going to work on a folded page. It's not going to be easy, but whatever. So this is, I mean, and then I have empty pages, page protectors in here. Everything gets put in a page protector because, again, the cats eat them. I spill coffee, I throw them out. They're crumpled garbage. Makes my life a lot easier. And then I have my third binder. Check out this big bad boy. And I always get the pretty binders because then I'm more apt to use them because I feel fancy. I can't use a plain white 3-inch D-ring binder. It's never going to happen. I get the fancy ones from Target. This one I really like, actually. And this one actually was from Staples. It was a good find. I think it was like $5. It's really cute. People like it. And a package of page protectors for $7. Dividers, if you need them in there. Again, under $1. You can do that for about $11, $12. This is my normally does not travel binder, but it came in today so I could show you about it. So it has this little clip in it in the front, which I use for my next up pattern. So this is my on deck. This is the next project I'm going to cast on. And of course, it's the So Faded sweater. I still have to pick yarn for it, and I'm trying to be really good and mitigate my amount of projects that I'm working on because I currently have at least 7 things on needles, and I need to get that back down to under 4. So I'm doing 2 at a time, and I'm not letting myself cast anything on until I finish at least 2, then I get to cast on 1 more project. And so hopefully, slowly, I'll get back down to under 4. But it kind of gives me a little motivation because, ooh, look, new project, and it's right there when I open it up. And this one also has some tabs. So I have mine actually divided by, my first tab is my shawl patterns. So these are all my shawl patterns in here. I got so many shawls. I love shawls. I'm a shawl person. So they're all in the first tab. My second tab is hats and mittens. So I got a couple patterns hanging out over here. And then after that, I have my sweater patterns. Yep, because this is the second page of the So Faded sweater that I'm going to start. So all my sweater patterns are in here. And then in the next tab, I like these Knit Picks books. I'm a fan of the Knit Picks pattern books, but they don't work with this system. So basically what I did this morning was I took my paper cutter and I took the staples out of these books because they're just paper. And you may have bought the Socktacular book here. It is a wonderful resource book for sock knitting. I have knit hundreds of socks. I still use this book because it gives you different heels, different toes, different cuffs, and I always end up doing the same sock, but with a different stitch or pattern type in the middle, like the cuff and on top of the foot. But I do cuffs, the ribbing the same, I do the heels the same, I do the toes the same. So if I want to mix it up, this book is great. So I basically just rip the staples out, cut them in half because they're 8.5 by 11, and I punch 3 holes in them. and now it's just in the binder with the rest of the stuff. So that just works right in with this binder for me. And then I have another tab in the very back, and I have a couple Knit Picks books in here, but you probably don't need to go through all of them. And this one actually is a clear tab, so you kind of can't see that it's there, but it's there. And these are where the finished printed patterns that I can locate have gone. Currently, it's just one of them because, like I said, they get crumpled and thrown away and spilled coffee and the cat chews on them. This is the only one I have in my finished, but it kind of gives me a good idea of how much work I've done this year and where I'm at with projects and what's going on and what kind of a load I have to get through. So that's helped me on the pattern end. And again, relatively affordable. I don't know, I think this was $8 or $9 for the 2-ring binder. And again, some page protectors, some page dividers for under $1. You know, this is under 20 bucks, but it makes, I mean, which is kind of pricey to organize stuff. I get it. But it makes my life easier. So kind of worth the cost for me. And this thing, honestly, I mean, it looks empty right now, but I literally just bought this giant 2-ring binder because the 1-inch wasn't enough. So it's going to get full up of patterns probably by the weekend. And then I'll need a second binder for my finished stuff, and it'll be nuts. So that's the binders. The other thing I always have is a notebook. And because you want to jot notes down, but you know what? I normally write on the patterns, and then if I have a friend who's like, oh, I really want to try and do this pattern, now they have all my scribbles and weird things and doodles on the pages, but it keeps my patterns nice. So in here I got some notes, and I can just jot down whatever I need to do, and this just stays with me and my knitting stuff. So if I ever need notes, and then you can always rip a page out, slide it in your sleeve protector with the pattern, so if you ever want to make it again, like, oh hey, remember, this yarn over is in a weird place, move it 2 stitches, it's there. Same with socks. Like, you make a change to a sock pattern, like the pattern says you should do 60 rows before you do your heel, but you have long or short legs, so you change the number of rows. Stick one of these pages in there, good to go. You can get notebooks for 99 cents. Like, come on, it's not a big expense. Now, I have 2 more things, and these aren't necessarily patterns, but these are my tools, which I actually have always kept extremely organized, and that's just who I am. But so I have the interchangeable needle set, which if you've come in, you've probably talked to me about or played with my needles. I love this thing, not just because the needles are so great, but also because the case is just really well thought out. I've bought cases for interchangeable sets and for needles, and they've done a good job. But this one has really been the best thought out one that I've ever had. And it comes with the needles. Like, so I'm really a big fan of what they're doing. They're coming out with more sets, and we'll do a whole nother thing about those. But so I have everything pretty organized in here. There's like this extra pouch that I don't actually use because I have other things. But this pouch in here, I keep my stoppers and my cables. They stay in the bags they came in because I haven't found a better alternative, but they're always there when I need them. So they're right there with my needles. My needles are all in place. They're all by size. They're marked because, again, a fantastic product. And it's a super convenient carrying case and fits with the binders and everything right into my project bag. So a good needle case will, whether it comes with your needles or you go find it somewhere else, a good needle case is good to have. The other thing that I have started using, because we just got them in, are these prism pouches. I'm in love with these. I really am. I'm going to talk about them on the Facebook Live video tomorrow, again, because they're fantastic. I've had so many Notions bags. I keep buying Notion bags because I've never found one that actually works the way I want it to, or is the right size, or holds the right amount of stuff, or looks good enough. This one hits every mark for me. It's the right size for the few things that I need just to make sure my knitting is done. And I have the tools that I need to make whatever I might be working on. It's see-through, so I can see exactly where my scissors, my little stitch marker pouch is, my little needle kits. I can see them right through it without opening it. I can look at it and not have to dig around. And it has a nice, easy zipper closure. And it's just whichever way you sit it. You can use the zipper, whether you sit it this way, whether you sit it this way, whether you sit it this way. It doesn't matter. So there's no top or bottom. I don't have to think about which way it's sitting on the table. you know, and then the needle gauge attaches right to the zipper with its little chain. I've also attached a thread cutter because sometimes I don't actually want to use scissors. And sometimes you just need to like quickly cut a bunch of threads. This works great. And so I have all my little things. They're all there. They're easily accessible. It clips with the carabiner that I've put on here. Clips right onto my project bag. It's always with my stuff. So, I mean, in the past month from being here and feeling like I really have to be organized, I've actually made a lot of strides, because normally it's things just shoved in a plastic bag, just hanging off a railing in my house, or strewn across our coffee table or our dining room table, or on the dresser in the bedroom, or on the bed, or whatever. Now it's all together. It all has a place. So hopefully you guys can use some of these tips, some of these ideas, products, whatever, and make your knitting life a little easier as well. With any luck, over the weekend, maybe I'll do something about my stash and might have some tips for you on how to manage that. I'm not going to hold my breath on that, and you shouldn't either, because I know myself, I'm just going to sit in PJs and knit all weekend. But, you know, we can all dream. And so you guys have a great rest of your week, a good weekend. There'll be the Facebook Live video tomorrow, which, you know, if you watch it while I'm doing it, feel free to ask me stuff in the comments, and I'll answer. And yeah, so I'm gonna go start some knitting because it's Thursday morning, so it's always a little, well, it's actually Thursday afternoon now, technically, but it's always a little slow first thing when I open, so I'm gonna take advantage of that, and I'm going to get to work on some of these shawls I have sitting next to me. So I will see you guys later, and come on in, hang out and knit if you want, or if you need some things, or you just want to say hi. All right, enjoy your day.